Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to One Page Story Extravaganza, episode 153 of the year 2023. It's sci-fi future, folks. Hi, how are you? So, how's everybody doing today? Hi, Miriam. How you doing? You had a nice stream this morning, Miriam. I really enjoyed that. Okay, so, oops, I got the wrong camera. Here we go. So there's today's page. You just saw the original for it. The suggestion was Fear in the Streets from a friend named Steve. So I drew the page with a marker and a yellow paint marker on jelly plated paper. And so there we go. So there's our finished page from yesterday. This is a fun one to do. I really like the whole illustrating on a jelly plated paper because it gives you something to start with, and that is kind of fun. If you want to spend some time with the original of that, you can always check it out on my Patreon, which is where I post those and audio files, etc., etc. And Saturday, Sunday pages that I don't put up on Instagram and Facebook. As well as that, all the week's pages are put on my Substack, which is free. And if you go on Substack, hey. So that's yesterday's page. It was a lot of fun to do that one. I really enjoyed it. I like the idea of, drawing my composition in a single value. Technically, two values, green and yellow. But using one as the positive and one as the negative, it sort of gives you fun little things to do, with defining the form and, stuff like that. So when I'm drawing in these little bits and details, because of the structure of the page and the sort of modeling effect on the surface, you don't have to worry about these great solids of value because it fits not to fill them in completely. It's more appropriate that you leave out those areas and those marks, just because it carries that composition around and it sort of embeds the image that you're working on so that it is uniform with the images laid out. So Miriam says it's good to see how it turned out finally. Thanks, Miriam. It's nice of you. So I just picked today's one-page idea, which is going to be an adorable murderous ghost. It's the suggestion was an alternate take on Casper, which is fun. It's actually something I got before, a couple of years ago. A year ago at least, and I'm going to do a very different thing than I did that time. Okay, I got some books to show you today before we get rocking and rolling, and then after today's stream, I got to go pick up my grandson and take him back to his place because he's in his program right now. And, I picked him up yesterday, and he tried to put his half-drank drink box in the side pocket of his little backpack that he wears. And I said, buddy, don't put this in here. And as I reached in to stop him from sticking that in this pouch, I realized that he was carrying half a brick of cheese in his backpack, like a good cut of cheese like this. And, buddy, why do you have a thing of cheese in your backpack? He says, cheese! Okay. Explanation given. So, yeah. So I let my daughter know when we dropped him off. He's got a big thing of cheese in there. She goes, that's where the cheese went. Which is ridiculous. He's 5. Thanks for asking, Miriam. We have 5 grandkids. So, but that was Maverick. And Robert is starting school this year. He's 6, and Jay is 9. And Liliana is 12 already. Good heavens. And she's almost as tall as my wife. And then Atlas is a baby. He's 1. So, yeah. Kids are all adults. Grandkids are on their way. So, Miriam says, I have 2. One's 5 and one's 9. Oh, my goodness. That's fantastic. They're fun ages. They really are. Like Maverick shouts as a backseat driver, red light, green light, like he tells you when to go and when to stop as you're driving. It's real fun. Having a little guy shouting behind your chair as you're driving. This is a fun book I picked up some years ago. This is Tony White's Animator's Workbook. It's step-by-step techniques. It is a good, fun page that has a general... oops, I'm missing stuff. I'm sorry. Grade ages. 3 total. There you go. Oh, you have 2 that are 5. Twins. I'm sorry. And 1 that's 9. I understand. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so this book here, the Animator's Workbook, is it's a pretty great step-by-step through all of the things that one might want to know in the course of trying to figure out how to animate movement and figures and things like that. It's even got Muybridge photos in it. That's fun. So I thought this was a fun book to show. Now, I've got a number of books on animation, including really thick workbooks, but I've even got Steve Rude's breakdowns for the Nexus animation that they were making, and his Nexus Animation Bible is called. But I just thought this was a fun one to show because it has all of the ins and outs, and that is a nice thing, you know, that you could just pick up one volume and there you go. It's an old book, though I don't know that's available. It's from New York, and I think that it's got some years to it. So, because a lot of this stuff has changed now, and I think this precedes digital. So, just trying to find a date on it. Yeah, I can't find one, but I think there'd be. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's from '86, so it's an older book. But you know, I found this one was pretty great overview, and if you can find a book that sort of has this material in it, like you see here, it doesn't matter what the drawings are. What really matters is what they teach you about drawing characters and characters' movements. So I'm using all kinds of stuff. PM Artist Studio. Hello, Christopher and Miriam. Hello, PM Artist Studio. I thought I would pop in as I saw you in Miriam's stream. Oh, that's very nice. That's very nice, yeah. Your name is Maria. Okay, thank you, Maria. I hope you enjoyed it as I do. Oh, yeah, it was very nice. I really did. I really did. I tend to last very briefly in a lot of streams, and I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the project with the box. And it just more and more kept coming in. She starts pulling figurines out of it. Oh, my goodness. That's fantastic. This is a book that my wife got me. My wife and kids got me at Christmas, and it's a history film, and it just sort of walks through the different decades and the different approaches, key moments in film from Europe and America and Asia and the different cinemas and how subjectively things were changing over time. But it's very thick, and I liked it very much. It came out at the time of Parasite's popularity in the American cinema, so of course that's what's on the cover of it. But a film that it's a good film. It is a good film, but honestly, not the hype. The hype is Hollywood just trying to cover its end from absolutely being dismissive of so many other world cultures and the impact that they have on cinema. Because let's be honest, the Oscars and stuff is really about North American film, which is really limiting. But this book is a really great cultural timeline. And that cultural timeline crosses over Europe, Asia, the Middle East, Canada, and America, North America here, and even South America as well. And so it's like films like Tu Mama Tambien and things like that. It's a nice overview. The ISBN for this is 978-0-500-02369-3. And the last book, am I missing stuff? Oh, I'm so sorry. It's Mariah. I apologize, Mariah. There you go. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, so yesterday I showed you a book on Otomo of his sketch work and his design work and all the stuff that went into the efforts of making Akira that I bought. I saw this at the store that I worked at, and we sold out of it, and then I saw it at Chapters, and I really enjoyed this book, so I had to buy a copy of it. And then, like a couple months later, we got them back in. I'm like, because you get discounts when you work at places, and I missed it. So but anyways, it's a good book. I didn't want to miss the book. What have we got? No worries this PM. Thank you very much. Do you stream every day? I stream Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time in North America. So, yeah, I usually last an hour and a half, and we do a page a day. But I've lately been showing some books out of the library. The reason that I'm showing this is a sort of theme. Animation's universal, the chronology of film being a cultural thing for around the world. And this is how Katsuhiro Otomo's impact from his animated film touched so many international artists. And there's just so many names here that are absolutely lovely illustrators in their own right, in their own material. So this is examples of all of these creators doing interpretations of material by Otomo and their own styles. And their styles are very different, and there's examples in here that show you the difference between Chinese, Japanese, and Korean illustration, which is this is the book that really, truly helped me understand that some of the differences in stylistic approach that those three different Asiatic cultures have. And the fact that so many of these creators, this is Otto Schmidt, Siberian, right? But the fact that this opened up my eyes to an awful lot of things about how work can have global impact, even in a medium like sequential literature, right? So there's just so many people in here that I really enjoy. Sarah Pacelli is Italian-born. She works in the North American market now. French, Chinese here, Japanese. It's really compelling. It's really, really wonderful and lovely to see all the different styles and to see all the different stylistic interpretations of one bit of material. And I like that a lot. When you look at a book like this and you see so many different visual approaches, it gives you affordance to be able to understand different ways of seeing and expressing yourself. So I highly recommend this book. It's absolutely lovely. It's very thick. Yes! Sorry. What do I got? Do I stream every day? Yes, indeed. Monday to Friday. Wow. Oh, okay, cool. He loves his movies. Nice. The book is very cool. Yeah, it's a fun idea to see how different people interpret a book. Do I have Amazon affiliate setup? I don't know what that is. Gary, hello. How are you? Right, you are so thoughtful. Hey, Gary. Yes, yeah. Oh, nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. So anyways, this book is fantastic. And some of the people that I've talked about before, I think at this point I must have introduced you to Asaf Hanukkah's work, but this has both the brothers. Here's Tomer. There's Tomer style, which is very clean, but very, very, very fine line. And but it's his brother Asaf Hanukkah that that really sort of touches my fancy. I really enjoy his books, The Realist, and I think I've shown them on the stream before, and if I haven't, I can tomorrow. But yeah, I've got a book where the two brothers work together, and it's a really nice fusion of the heavy black line of Asaf and the wonderful colorization of Tomer. So, but it's just nice to see the interpretations of Akira by so many different creators. Just completely crazy over the top. I like that one a lot. Roman is from Rome, Italy. So, cool stuff. Okay, what am I missing? You should would help in monetization, especially when you recommend books like these. But Amazon affiliate sub. I'll write it down. I don't know what it is. Affiliate. I've only got less than 200 people that follow me, so I don't know if I even apply for things like that. But I'll write it down. We'll take a look into it. I never say no about most things. So, all right. So, Ryan says, "Hello, Gary. You might have to wait for your channel to grow." See, that's what I assume with all things at this point. I've only been doing this since since the beginning of the pandemic, but I've really only been doing it routinely, regularly since the start of this year. And at the start of this year, we had 26 people, and now we're at I think we're at 180. So people are having fun, and I think that's what counts. It's not about I got a bazillion people. It's more about a space where I'm just doing the thing I do anyways, but it's nice to have engagement and interaction, and other people to find a place to meet and to tell each other silly jokes, and to play number wine. So you might ask for you to have more subs. Well, they can ask about that. How about my other social? Consistency is key. There we go. So we're almost at 700, I think, for Instagram. I don't know. Either way, I can't keep track of it because it's sort of not the motivation. It's something I have to be understanding of at this point, because I need to be able to facilitate further engagements, and the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I do have larger numbers. But I'm happy for how much we're doing in a year. So you would enjoy the group. We're a fun group. Oh, yeah, a bunch of maniacs. I love it. And then Miriam says, I knew him through Didi. Yeah. Bunch of maniacs. There's a great deal of fun people and creative people that I've met through here that I really appreciate the opportunity to have done so. And then we've done some fun stuff through the stream, like Chris, who's down in Mexico there. I talked to her class one day about creativity in your daily life, and I've done a bunch of things like that. So it's we're having a ball. You guys, there we go. Nice. Yeah. I tend to pop up at a bunch of things and say, hello. All right. Today's page. Look at that. Book's out. Everything's done. Ready to rock. 18 minutes in. So, what I've got going for today's idea, the adorable murderer's ghost, is that I don't know. I thought I would just draw in pencil and pen. One of the things that I try to do on a consistent basis is switch up what I'm using. And the reason that I do that is because I enjoy working in so many different medium. By regularly, tipping my toe into each of these pools, it sort of keeps me with wet feet. It sort of keeps me, still in the mix with how to do some things. And so I like to switch each day just because, it's fun. It's fun and it's challenging. And if you haven't dialed into it yet, I'm all about them challenges. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. There was a stream the other day with Miriam or maybe it was even yesterday. I don't remember, but I know I wanted to see it and I missed it. So I watched it yesterday, I think. And where Chris and Miriam did right here. This is what I was looking for. The wonderful stream with the oil pastels. It was really enjoyable to see the two of them. Miriam says, Christopher, can you show your last one page again? Do you mean the one I did yesterday? That is this one. That's the page I drew during the stream. Most of it during the stream yesterday on jelly plated paper. And I've done a number of these lately, right? So there's a bunch to see. If you look on Instagram, it's just my name again, or Facebook. If you do that one, you see it there, and then there's the original for it. So not a lot of changes from the one to the other than just some framing mechanisms and borders. No. Well, I suggest it's failed. I suggest that the medium is, or the jelly plating was failed, because the only part that took was literally this part of the face. And the rest of it, well, this little business right here in the corner, and the rest of it's all smushy business. So yeah, so I've jelly plated a whole bunch of pages, and then I use everything. Like I've even got papers like this that I've got notes on. I'll end up using this sort of stuff as well, because that's part of the fun, right? Like I've got in this clipboard of different papers and cardstocks, and there's all kinds of, there's inked up paper, there's some jelly plated experiments, and it's fun. It's fun not to just lock in on one thing, and I highly recommend people do that. So what else? What do you think? What else? Pay no attention to that. That's just my blood sugar testing kit. Yeah, I've got a couple of more things going right now. Like there's a jelly plated image that I'm going to utilize, and then this is for another project that I'm working on. So it's busy. But I usually put out in total, I usually put 2 pages a day out. One with the 1-page stream, and then one for the other projects I'm working on. So I try to keep productive. Oh, nice. Everybody's following me there. Hi, Ariri. You should join us today if you can. We stream in an hour and a half. Unfortunately, at that time, I have to go pick my grandson up. I will definitely watch the stream, but it might have to be after, because I've got to go pick my grandson up from his program that he's in. He's doing some testing, and he's learning some stuff. I think, like one of my oldest, he might have the same sort of challenge that my oldest son had in growing up, and to define himself. And so the difference with Maverick is that he's in a program so that maybe we can help and get funding and assistance and things like that for his mom and dad, so they can learn how to deal with autism and the like. So, because it's a lot harder as they get older. So anyhow, but I'll definitely check it out. MNW. I like it. I'd like to be known by my initials as well, but it'd be CMSSR, and that's just too long to type. It's just easier to type Christopher. It's much shorter. Numbers are hard. Okay, so Amazon affiliate setup is a note from today. So where was I? Today's suggestion is from the Kremlinator, Joshua Kemble. If you get a chance, take a look at Josh's stream. He talks each day about, or as much as he can, about the current project that he's working on, Nothing But Love. And it's a Victorian era book. So very good stuff. Okay, so I've got Adorable Murderous Ghost. Let's just get cracking. So yesterday's page, I talked about, in the course of this page, I talked about how in the early onset of any narrative, you want to establish either character motivation and emotion, or you want to establish the context for the narrative. So this case is where we get right into the character, and then the narrative, the perspective of what's going on is specifically through their dialogue and their emotion. So that was yesterday. Now today, we're going to do the other, which is starting off with establishing the context. And in the context for an adorable little murderous ghost, I think it's a Casper business, right? Casper the Friendly Ghost. I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but so I thought right off the hop we'll draw a Victorian house. And so today I'm working on this heavy grade cardstock, and it's got a little bit of weight to it, and can take a kicking and take a licking and keep on ticking. I think that's the old expression. So one of the nice things about working on a heavier paper is that you could really chase it down and use some different medium on it. Like I might feel inspired in a few minutes to start throwing watercolor on this. I never know what I'm doing when I'm doing it. We sort of figure it out as we go. So Victorian house is our start today. You're about to do a one page. Oh yeah, always. And then Mariah says, okay, check back at some point. Head out. Okay, bye for now, Mariah. Intuitive mind. Do you like that? I can also do interpretive dance. Neither of these things do you want to see. My interpretive mind looks an awful lot like Bono from their video for Lemon. It's not nothing to write home about. Okay, so I'm just putting in this, standard Victorian looking, creepy, spooky giant place. See, here's a funny thing. In North America specifically, but also in much of Europe, there's the visual aesthetic of Victorian households have this sort of, they've become connected to now, almost synonymous with sort of horror or spooky Halloween. It's just because of the fact that it's as close really that we come in North America to something reminiscent of castles, like that exist in many other parts of the world. So for some reason they're considered spooky houses. I've never thought that. I always thought they're kind of lovely. And but when you've got a lot of ghost literature in North America, you can guess where it's set. Yeah. So anyway, so I'm putting down the structure of this place now, and this first panel without worrying too much about all the specifics. Now, for Janet here, she'd give me a hard time that I'm not using a ruler. I can't find it. It's right there. It doesn't matter. I couldn't find it. It's not true either. So we're just putting down this form here, and then just sort of setting the stage. Let's put a tree in front of it. I like the idea that when you're doing someplace that you want to have to be somewhat mysterious, hide it a little bit. Hide that sucker away. And since we've got a lot of trees, where I live is this, the nickname for London, Ontario, Canada is the Forest City, because we have a lot of trees in comparison to other places. So that the tree is the logo of this town. Well, town, 425,000 people, but compared to other places in the world, that's a town. I really like it here. It's very nice and cool, and lots and lots of trees and things like that. If you like hugging them, you're never going to get anywhere because you've got to stop every 10 feet. But that's one of the pluses of being here is the fact that trees are kind of integral. But I think that by putting some of these into this image, you sort of still follow suit with that haunted Victorian house behind all the overgrown foliage, and what goes on in there? Old man Johnson was a crazy person. That's the wonder of the unknown, is that mankind hates unknown. Peoplekind, whatever you want to call it. And they hate the unknown. We hate the unknown in general. And so we're always trying to find out what the truth of a thing is. And if we can't, as a species, we make it up. And so this is where that sort of sits in. I'm drawing with the wrong camera on. I am so sorry. This whole time I have been like a ding-dong, leaving it on the other image. Anyhow, so what I was talking about earlier is this is the image that I'm drawing today is a Victorian house, and we're establishing the context of the contextual setting, the contextual narrative that takes place in a haunted house, and so on and so forth. I really apologize for that, everybody. Whew. When my looks go, don't say that, I'll fall over. Okay, so this is why, back to what I was saying earlier, this is why I'm drawing this spooky house, and this is why I'm half covering it with a tree. And, you know. And this is why I'm not using a ruler, because I couldn't find it. So look there. Okay, so I'm just throwing in some windows. Now, in a second, I'm going to pull out some of the blacks and bring those up a little bit. And I'll do that with this magical thing. It's called a ballpoint pen. And, this will sort of change some of the dynamic of the lines. And you can really change focus and the depth of an image when you start using a much deeper contrast in your drawing. So I'm just throwing down some more of these short roofs, and then we'll put a couple of more visual elements on this house here. Give it a couple of lightning antennas. You gotta have lightning antennas on old houses because they would get hit by lightning. And so a lightning antenna, which is actually grounded, it actually takes a lightning strike and pushes it through the house into the ground below. It's interesting. And this is a method that was used to save houses from burning up. All right, I'm wearing shorts today in case you caught a hold of some knee there. I'm weird. I get hot and cold at the same time. And, you got to be prepared for every season. And I tend to dress for them all at once. Okay, so we'll put another roof here that follows this line, and then one further connection to the house. So, spooky house. Yeah, there we go. We're carrying that line over there, and we'll do some of those similar elements throughout here, but you really can't see them because, again, covered up by tree. So that's identifiably trying to establish that the house is somewhat, overgrown, and we'll make a little bit of, with the color I can show a lot of grays, and that the house itself has aged poorly. But let's just get this image down. So if anybody's got anything that they're working on right now, or they have one-page suggestion or anything like that, feel free to put it in the chat or in the comments afterwards. But if you've got stuff you want to talk about that you're working on, let us know. People are interested in that. Last night was the new episode of Hey Man, How's Your Movie Going? On Jim Luan's channel. You had an interview with producer and writer Ken Mora, which is very exciting and very interesting. So, good guys. But if you're interested in finding out the processes in the making of an animated film, Jim is working on, I think he's got like 30 things done already, but Jim is working on an entire animated film on his own. And, that's something. So he's very talented, and he walks you through some of these stages of development as it goes. So super cool. Tomorrow's, I think I might do a 3-page tomorrow. Or, no, it's not a 3-page. Tomorrow I was going to do a suggestion I got yesterday that I think it was Chris Kalui that put it in. And, we're going to take a look at that one. So I'm not overly concerned about absolutely matching the foliage as presented by the pencil, because by allowing the darker ink to be on the interior of some of those lines, it gives a sort of a softening of the edge, and that softening of the edge sort of plays a little bit like focus, and that lack of focus makes it feel like it's got a little more dimension to it. And with it sitting in front of this house, and it kind of has this weird, if people pick up on the sort of weird focus part of it, it really makes you think that this is in the foreground of the house. Ideal. Miriam says, I'm making a CD from cardboard, toilet paper, and jelly print. Oh, that's fantastic. She says, I'm very interested in animation and know the basics of my Super 8 times. I have Procreate and I want to learn. So take a look at Jim Ruan, and I'll write his name down for you. Let's use the pen when it works. Jim, and his last name is Lujan. Okay? But take a look at Jim's YouTube and Instagram, etc. He does his own. He does a number of the voices in it. He does all of the illustration and editing, and as well, he does all the music for his projects. And yesterday, I showed 4 of his video collections that we've got here. Well, 3 video collections and the film Revengeance that he did with Bill Clinton. Really enjoy them. So we're just putting in some of these marks in the back of the image. A little bit in the bushes as well. Just playing a little bit with this contrast. So there's no guarantee. If I say I'm using ballpoint today, that could change. So I'm going to apologize up front to anybody that thinks that's crazy of me. But I tend to use whatever I feel like using in the moment. And I think that for me, that really allows me to try different things and do whatever I want. I need to see Jim. Yes, I found it yesterday. Excellent. Do my own music. To do your own music is one of your goals too. Far away yet. Well, all things in time. All I know how to play is the trumpet. Well, then everything's going to have a trumpet next soundtrack for now. Just have fun. But Chris, I've only learned to play professionally the triangle. Well, then you play your triangle. And you don't take anybody's guff about it. Because the triangle's so totally excellent, I must say. So I'm just putting in some of these deeper, points so that you know that this is where it's the real darks, the real shadows, instead of having to draw over the entire image. I'm just picking and choosing which parts I want. It's never worry about getting too caught up in everything being perfect or all the finishes or whatnot on anything that you're working on. That's not the important part. The important part is you're telling a story visually. If you're using pictures, you're telling a visual story. And I said this yesterday, and somebody sent me a message after and said they hadn't heard it before. But, it's not about beautiful pictures. It's not about the greatest piece of writing, in the history of people. It's about telling a story. And that should be the main focus when we're illustrating a story, writing and illustrating a story like this, is that there has got to be some kind of conveyance of ideas, and whether that's pictorially or textually, you got to try something. Putting in these lower windows, and then we're going to move on. Okay, so here's our house. Spooky, spooky, spooky. There we go. Okay, let's see what I'm missing. Are we doing okay? Yeah, we're doing all right. Okay, so here's our first panel where we've got our, we've introduced our Victorian house, and I forgot to put a little bit more shadow in here. There we go. It's just something to keep it interesting, right? Like a pair of bats. Flying to be really spooky. Yeah, but then that's kind of on the nose. It's a Victorian house that we've set it in, but it's not. There's a whole bunch of different things that we can do. We can put it at night. We can, we can add Gothic elements to it. I tend to think of suspenseful horror as, I generally find that the most successful suspenseful horror is it presents it in normal. The world is normal. But this thing that's happening is really, really weird. So it's not like it's a Victorian setting, Gothic setting where everything is a sort of emo dream. I think it's far more interesting. I think Amityville Horror works so well because it's a normal looking house. Now, in the way they do it in the film, the house gets more and more dark and foreboding looking as it goes. But initially, it's just the Shining works because of that, right? The beautiful vistas, this absolutely beautiful setting in this gigantic hotel. But the truth is that it's the fact that it's normal and it's just a hotel without anybody in it, which defies its purpose. So therefore becomes this sort of awkward sense about it. And then the few people that are in it are so distant from one another. And, that when one of them starts going, interesting, how do you contend with that? And that's where the horror element kicks in. That's what's the horrifying part of it. I don't know. I don't like jump horror or the stabby horror movies. I find them creepy. and unnecessarily jump scary. I don't have a very good flight instinct. It's just maybe it's how I'm raised or a weird way I'm set up. But I get scared. I swing. And I try to kill whatever just scared me. And so those sort of jump scared movies do me no favors at all. So, okay. So we've got our Victorian house. Let's take this farther. Let's move inside. And so that it's sort of, taking us into a little deeper into our context. So now that we know we're in this, or, somehow ornate or in its decoration and its presentation. So, and because in today's day and age, we don't build like this anymore, and it's a very, very set time. That sense of ominousness kicks in now because, well, here's this big old spooky looking house. Which isn't, the thing about that is that it's not intentionally made to be a spooky thing. It wasn't at the time anyhow. It just is. Houses have a voice. They have in their story. And I always think that's fun to find out what it is. Okay, so here we are with our first little staircase here to the first floor, and then we'll put some black line into this, just to push it a little bit more. And then I'll do this at times where I'll try to push the outlines or push the shadows on something, so just to pop it off the back. And so as I draw this background now behind the staircase, as I draw this in the hallway, I'm going to focus more on the pencils so that this is a sense of this space is differentiated from the space immediately behind it. Am I missing anything from? Nope, we're doing okay. If anybody has anything they want to chat about today, or any deep, brooding, existential dilemmas? So I'm putting in a rounded entrance to a room. And think about which this would go this way. So there's our framed door here. I really like the idea of big, fancy houses like that. And there's a part of me that always wanted to own one, but the upkeep on them is a nightmare. So Janet was here, should be chewing me out. Get a ruler. Get a ruler, punk. Let's give it a tall ceiling and the obligatory head hanging on wall. What's the animal? I don't really know. Let's make it give it a little bit of shape. Give it some moose horns. There we go. Crazy big horns. We'll fix that up with the black in a second. Oh, there we go. Dave says rulers are for wimpies. Ah. Okay, so I'm just finishing putting some of these details, and then rather than filling in all of that line art that was put in a moment ago with the pencil, with that heavy contrast, let's just work into the structure of the moose horns, and so just try to give them a little bit of dimension. We're more interested in that than we are the other. Okay, where are we at? Oh, we're doing okay. So if anybody has any other ideas that I should enter into a crazy Victorian house, let me know. So just getting some wall plaques and the like on there. Now I've bumped this out so that, because a lot of these properties they're not boxes. They've got all kinds of wonderful shapes and directions in them. And I like that. So all right. Let's put this here. You know what? I'm going to move him over. There we go. So I'm putting the chandelier right here in the center of this space. And what we're going to do, in order to have the viewer understand that this fancy chandelier is in front of the moose on the wall, is by having it cut in front of it, just the slightest little bit, but just enough to make it count. Yeah, oh, we're doing good. Boy, time's going by quick today. If anybody has any questions or just toxic venom for me, I don't know, spit your vitriol at me and put on your helmets. So there's this house. So what I was referring to a moment ago, because we've got part of the moose horn in there, let's just go in and cut that out. So now, ideally, the chandelier sits in front of the moose in the space of the environment. All right, Chris. So this open window top here of the space is we're going to use we're going to show library, and put a chair in the distance. So hopefully by the reduction of the size of that chair, again, it pushes the idea that it's a deeper space because of how much that recedes. So another thing I'll do is not complete lines. I'm not overly worried about that. So if it looks like the library bookshelf is behind this doorway, it sort of gives us a better sense of the depth of it. I love the moose. He's just up there hanging out. There we go. But by having one object in front of another object in front of another object, it sort of gives you a sense that this corner is in front of this bookshelf, in front of that garbage pail, in front of that seat. And by piling things up in front of each other, it changes the space itself. So just putting some books on the bookshelf. There we go. Look at all that fun. And then now it's just putting a bunch of fluent images up. Because ideally, you see some ceiling. And it's okay. So now that we've established that as our line, we can put in some of the ornateness of woodwork at the top. We can do the same at the top of this column. Yeah, little bits of business, right? And that sort of tells us now I'm going to do something fun on this one. I've got the pictures going up on the wall in a haphazard way to show time, etc. Resume. Okay, let's come together. Gonna use a ruler. Woohoo! That was it. All right. So get this one line out of here. Nobody likes your line. Hit the bricks. Everybody works at different speeds. It's important that you work at whatever your own is. And I'm at times I get people saying, "Oh, how do you get to work so fast?" Lots and lots of practice. X amount of time doing it, something. But at the same time, I'm constantly trying new things out and incorporating those into what I do. So lots of practice, yes, but also try out different things and see what that does for you. So we'll put a mirror here in the hall. And the tables attached to. So this is what I was referring to by the predominant gray over the heavier darkened foreground. I'm not doing everything in a ballpoint pen. Okay. All right. I say that a lot. I know it. couple of touches on the frame. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so now we've introduced two different things. One is the Okay, let's have some more fun. So I've got some of my watercolor sets here and ink sets and the like. So let's just play a little bit. A little bit. I expect some hardcore playing. If you haven't had an opportunity to try these out, please do. They are fantastic. And they allow you to be able to work, in watercolor or whatever it is, and without all of that farting around of water jars. And you've got this. There's your setup. Close it and go. This in a book, So here's our two places. Now that we've got the two places established, let's have some color. Now, do I do it in color or do I do it in black and white? Hi, Kat. Welcome aboard. Thanks very much. Boy, oh boy, Kat. What a night last night. Koviak's grandson. Oh, if you want to know what we're referring to here, you got to watch that stream from Jim last night. But poor Kat, just the enticement and it just disappears. Has anybody got any thoughts on black and white or color? Some color in it. It's up to you. I'm good either way. I have no preferences. Okay, I'm gonna have a drink though. Also, I was messaged yesterday. What is my timetable? Because how do I get a page done a day? And then I felt Miriam has said black and white. We're going with black and white. So somebody asked me what my timetable was in the studio. Our kids are grown up, and my wife works sometimes at home and sometimes in her office downtown. So, and because I'm no longer at the Story Bit for the last 20 years, and this is our house. We built the studio the way I wanted it, and so I'm doing this full time. And so the first part of my day I spend doing other things, like the red page that I showed earlier, and but each afternoon I do one of these. So, but I generally produce 2 pages a day. So I get up and I get started between 7, 8, or 9, and so then I go until lunch, which is 11, 12, or 1, depending on 7, 8, or 9. And then I prep for the stream, and we do the stream here until about 3:34. And then it's household stuff with, laundry and chores and some cleaning and making some food and for dinner. And but my routine is really scheduled because I have to do insulin with each meal because I'm a type 1 girl diabetic. So then around 4, 5, 6 is dinner, depending on what time I got up. And then we have either stuff that we need to do together and go for a walk or figure out some paperwork, or we watch some television together. And then when Lori will retire around 9 or 10 at night, and then I work until 12, 1, or 2. So that's my schedule for the person that asked. Okay, so I've got a light bit of black watercolor here. And it's a nice wide brush on here. So I'm just doing a little bit of value to push the building back. Okay. I hope that's picking up for you. What am I missing? Last night was very exciting. Oh, well, look who's come just in time. Hello, kind friends. This is why it was exciting. Koviak's grandson? You got to watch last night's video for Jim Lewin to figure out what that means. Do I plan out the number of panels for a one-pager, or is it organic? Entirely organic. I get an idea, and then I start working. I don't prep before I start. I leave that for when I'm working, and the reason for that is that it allows me to not get too caught up in expectation. Now, other people, it's incredibly important for them to have everything laid out, and power to them. There's no right or wrong approach in this. It's whatever works for you creatively. But this is, for me, it's much better to just get rolling. So I don't plan anything in advance. Welcome aboard, Mr. Jim Luan. Up in a second. You're fussy. Anyways, okay, so let's do the next panel. That was really nice to see interview with Ken Mora last night on your stream last night, Jim, and to see that sampling the bowling interview. Hello. Okay, so we're just pushing these lines back, space back a little bit. It's not perfect. The lines aren't perfect by any means, but that's, again, like I said before, it's not about the perfect picture. It's about telling the story. So, we're not too worried about stuff. So there's our floor. Okay, where are we now? Mr. Jim, creator of the greatest character ever, Emilio Koviak. The time I'm doing something, I already see it complete in my mind and enjoy it alone. But then it's only how accurate I can put it on paper. I like the surprises along the way. Some of the things that, in the course of doing a page, in the course of doing a large piece or a painting or whatever it is, you're going to find left turns that you might not have considered in advance of that. And so if you allow yourself to be open to that, it may very well change the course of what you even had for an expectation. The challenge of that is that you have to have that give. And I think that that's a challenge. It's a really tricky thing, especially for some, because their working processes are very different to that. Like I said, no right, no wrong answers, but I just know that I know for a fact that I'm fairly loosey-goosey when it comes to all this. So, all right, so I'm just putting some bits of white into the chandelier and just giving a little bit of pep. And I just heard Lori head out. She's got something to drop off for somebody today. So we'll put some little white bits of business in the mirrors. Let's see if I catch up here. Interesting to see how everyone has a different approach to a storyline. Yeah, I think that it's important that you figure out your own way of telling a story or singing a song or whatever it is. It's really allow yourself to just pursue something. If it doesn't fit the a larger agreed upon approach, that doesn't matter. You might do something wonderful and new that turns the course of the boat, and a great deal of people are going to look at and go, okay, how did that happen? And how do I make that happen in what I'm doing? So, and then I'll say, hey, I knew so-and-so when. Okay. A couple more little marks in here. Just fun little bits of information that just change, force our eye around, right? I had a pen. What are you hiding over there for? So I'm pressing really lightly with the pen. And not really, really hard with it. So Jim says, I think Christopher's parents are the creators of the greatest character ever. Jim! Christopher is also quite animated. That's not true at all. I'm always open to change it, especially when the same work leads to it. Yeah, it's important. It's really important. I got a question sometimes if you only do one thing and you only do it one way. I got a question the fulfillment that people might have in that or not. Okay. All right. Let's move on. So we've got these scary Victorian little elements here, and there's a couple of different ways we can approach the telling of this story. So let's say here's your name, Jim. So if we look at, we're establishing the context visually, right? So this is one way that we can tell the page as we go. We show the context of the situation visually and try to enhance and encourage the idea that this is, the more and more time we spend with the space, the more and more it feels a little bit foreboding. And then when we write the text with it, okay, so I should put that over here. This is where we have our narration, okay? And so this is where we can enhance the visual element and then change the reader's viewpoint on the visual element. So what that allows us to do is to present one image, but simultaneously tell things in a different direction. So, well, it may well look like a mundane house or whatever it is. As we're going through it, we talk about rumors that people might have of the house, or the daunting story of when we first moved in, and what the house represented, and those elements. So I think that to get the panels progressively darker changes our sense of this approachable perspective we have on the house, and then as we enter in, but if we can get it subsequently darker each panel as we go, it starts to change the way that the viewer looks at the environment. So now Miriam says, well, I'm very eclectic, so I don't do one thing. Very prolific, but can do more than one thing a day. More than art, into art for more than 60 years. Nice. I'm just laughing at cat. Change the mood of the scene with shadows and depth. Yeah, that's exactly it. So I think we'll continue on these Victorian era tropes, and well, now we got two choices where you can either enter into the library, or we can enter into or get closer to the fireplace. So I think we're going to walk through this door into the library. That's my thought. And of course, using a ruler. So I'm so sorry, Janet. Don't be mad at me. Oh, why don't I use this tool? Look, that's practically a ruler. It's close enough. It's close to it. And you know what? I did that wrong. I changed the direction of the shelves. What am I doing? Whew. Blonde moment. All right. Felt wrong while I was doing it. Why does this feel wrong? Woohoo! Miriam says, don't go to the library. There's the butler with the candlestick. Well, I don't want to come across anybody named Mr. Plum. Colonel Plum? What is it? Colonel Mustard. We can start adding in additional bits of material as we move closer and closer to things, so that's kind of fun too. Uh-oh. Mr. Plum. Look out, everybody. It's J Boys. I'm curious. Colonel Mustard with the mustard, or was it the revolver? I like that Colonel Mustard only dispatches people with mustard. It makes for a far more interesting scenario. But I can't see Mr. Mustard as anything other than Richard Mole now. And it's such the live action Clue film with its 3 separate endings is just absolutely wonderful. Hey, Jansu. J-Boys. So, putting down this chair in the environment as well. Give it an interesting shape. just sort of stepping into this space and stepping into that environment, and enables us to push our little narrative along. Play with some throws at the top of the chair. Missing stuff. Oh, Raul's joined us. How you doing, Raul? Welcome aboard. So, Adorable Murderous Ghost is our suggestion today from Mr. Josh Campbell. So we're spending X amount of time drawing our reader into the space and then playing with how they're looking at the setting for the story, and we're just sort of leading them along a little bit here and having some fun with that. And adding a little bit of information as we go. We put a rifle on the wall here. Start playing with a few more of these. Ideas of the Victorian era, so on and so forth. Josh Campbell knows a lot about this because he's working on a book that's, I think yours is Edwardian, isn't it? Raul says hi again to Miriam, Christine, Kat, and Post. And Sabina. And cute miniature drawing. A second reminds me of seeing in the movie The Haunted Mansion. Haven't seen it. Adorable and murderous is a very disturbing combination. The first one reminds me of New Orleans. Are you from New Orleans? So Lori and I, we like going to old museums, and not just like these modern art museums. No, we like going to like small town museums because they're far more interesting than the stuff that they have in their exhibitions. There's a place in, I think it's Collingwood, Ontario, and it has an entire room of just stuffed animals. Like, that this was someone's prized collection. It was incredibly valuable at the time. And they even have an albino fox. And an albino fox is really weird looking because it's completely white. But then there's, in the same room, it has a completely, I can't remember what it's called. It's black. The fox is entirely black, and it's because of an absence of color in its skin. It's an interesting thing, anyhow. Gary says, "Are we getting a gym run question of the day?" That's my question of the day. New Orleans and Salem are on my bucket list when traveling to the USA in the future. I am not going anywhere near Salem. Those people are crazy. They burn you. Or at least they used to. Things might have changed. They make you sew letter A's on your shirt, and then everybody points at you as you walk around town. Oh, okay, that might have been a movie. Well, then Daniel Day-Lewis falls in love with you anyhow. Anybody tell me who wrote that movie? Or who wrote that story? Or why it's, or wrote the screenplay at the very least for the film, and why it's interesting. Daniel Day-Lewis is in it. Never seen that in Colorwood. It's there's a museum. So if you drive around that whole area, there's 5 small museums along that river, and And so it's one of them. I think it might be Collingwood. We stopped in all of these. And it's just crazy. Like there's one that's on top of the hill, and it was the old estate house by the person that had started this town. But they have a room full of stuffed animals, and they have a room full of miniature buildings that the person themselves had made out of pieces of stick. And it's just, I love things like that so much. One's an old schoolhouse. There's another one that's an entire, they've put the house, the school, the post office, the old railroad station. All of these things are moved to this one location, and so the museum is literally walking around 16 different buildings. It's basically a small town, but not set up like a town. It's just they're all right there so that people can go and experience these pieces of history without having to, Yeah, it's awesome. It's good stuff. I'll have to send you a message with where we went specifically, so that you can look that up, Kat. Julian says, question of the day: do you read, watch your own work for enjoyment? No. Daniel Day-Lewis. There you go. Yeah, he's a cool guy. I like him. Along the Narawasaka? I'll Google it. Oh yeah. There's so many great places in Canada here. So many great things to see. I'll have to look them up. Laurie finds these things, and we buy all these books about ghost towns of Ontario, and we go and find them. We're macabre. We're not, actually. We're like the most mundane. Hi, how are you? Oh, this used to be a school, huh? But okay, so we're just putting some of these lines to enhance some of what's going on in our viewer's eye, to draw them around. Fill in some of that doiling. All right, where am I now? Okay, so Jim's question of the day, folks, is, where is it? There it is. Do you read or watch your own work for enjoyment? Miriam says, yeah. Cool. Well, what is it? Is it both? Or is it I don't know that I do. I can't honestly say that I do, for the most part. I might, like some of this independent films that I've been in, I'll watch it once, or a couple years later, I'll put it on again and go, oh my God, and turn it off. Like I don't know. I tend to always be plugging away on something. I'm always chasing new information. All right, let's put this rug in. I'll look at old works that I've done, and then I have to put them away because there's always this, I could do that better thing that I have going on. And yeah, Kat says, no, once it's done, I just deny having done it. Okay, you're one of the funniest people I know. It's good to see your work with new eyes. Oh, sure, but I'll look at it for a moment, but then I'll put it away. I don't want to. I can't generally read stuff I made till years after it's been published. Is that right? That's interesting too. Can't stop and read things I'd already done. I know what I did when I did this. Next project, please. I don't know what my thinking is on it. I don't know that I have any determination or specifically about it all. I think I don't consider it. I'm a bit random, I know, but if I find mistakes in my books after they've been out, I get really annoyed. So I think that might be a detractor for going back and reading old books, because I know I made mistakes before. I don't want to. I'm just going to deny they exist now. Move on to the next thing and do better. But I mean, the changes. This is the book that we're working on to come out now is my 31st book, and the stuff that I was doing in those early books is, let's say, pretty different than what I'm doing now. And yeah, there's no part of me that's like, let's go and jump into that shoe again. Kat says, that's very interesting, Jeff, especially given the serious topics of some of your published work. Yeah, isn't it? It's kind of neat. But I have an idea. Time are we at? 1:33. All right, a few more minutes here. So we got the first 3 panels down. Now, the reason I'm doing this little black pen's bit of business is I have an idea for a motif in the piece that I'm going to incorporate throughout it. So I'm just going to start with this space here, just because it was available. Is there anybody that does look at what they've done before and on a regular basis? Because there's nothing wrong with that. It's almost like you pour everything into it, then you just step back for a bit when it's done. Oh yeah, for sure. It's challenging when you've just worked on something and now you've got to take it to the next step, as in, like in a case of where you do X amount of illustrations, so you got to put them in a book. It forces you to have to confront things pretty quickly on, and that can be, it could just make you stay in this state of analysis that keeps you from just getting back and creating. So, all right. Okay, so we got our first 3 panels done. Yeah, so I'm going to work out the narrative as I go through and figure out some different things where I'm going to try to pursue making the page visually start to get a little bit darker and creepier as I go. And so that's what these little shapes that I'm putting in here, that I'm going to start introducing this sort of spectral element in these panels, and as it comes forward. And I'm going to try to figure out how I'm going to do that as like a, well, it looks like Casper, you know. Josh says, for sure, I can generally enjoy my stuff about a decade after. Oh my. There's a lot to be said for whatever it is that you're working on. When you get to the completion of the piece, put it aside and get on to the next job. Some people work differently. Some people, you know, there's a lot to be said for this as well, but they'll work on a piece, and then as they're prepping to start the next piece, they'll have this thing up on an easel or something and really be assessing it and seeing if there's something more that needs to go on it. And you know, and there's got to be benefits to that too, but I tend to be the whole, well, look, as far as the stream goes, I'm doing a page a day. And that, you know, there's not a lot of time for reassessing and reassessing. How I generally do that is when I do something traditionally, when I scan it and I put it into Photoshop, that's my opportunity to look at the work differently again and to deconstruct some of what I've done, or to try to enhance some of what I've done. So there's sort of a two-part process in it for me that enables me to have two different perspectives on the same piece by two different approaches. So I don't know. There's a different way that works for everybody else. Okay, so we're at 22. 4. Numbers are hard. I'm going to have to call it for now, largely because I got to go pick up my grandson from his day program, and I'm going to drop him off at my daughter's to help her out. So thank you, everybody, for coming out. Tomorrow, there's a suggestion that I have that is going to be fun to do. Whereas this is a sort of a gothy piece, tomorrow is going to be very fantasy-based, because tomorrow is about Peter Pan as the angel of death for children, is the idea submitted by Chris Calloway. And I think I've got it right. I think that's what she said was, but Peter Pan as the angel of death for kids. And so that can be really macabre, but I think that the idea that too can also be a slightly different take on the idea of Neverland and all that. So there's been a lot of stuff that's adapting, nursery rhymes and stories like Peter Pan and Cinderella, not Cinderella, I'm sorry, Alice in Wonderland, in really dark, gothy ways. And I think I have a different idea about that. So that'll be the page we're going to be starting tomorrow. And, I think it'll be fun. This weekend, I've got some stuff to do, but if you're on the Patreon, I've got some pages that'll be going up there that I think are going to be super fun. And Monday, if you're in the London, Ontario, Canada region, is the Comic Jam. So I'll be back here at 2 o'clock on the Monday, but 6 o'clock that night at an art gallery in downtown London, I run a monthly Comic Jam where 10 to 30, 40 people get together around these tables, and somebody starts the first panel of a page and then puts it in the center of the page, and the next person comes along and has to continue that narrative. And so we'll usually have however many pages going on around that table at the same time, but it's a lot of fun. It's something that I always try to encourage each month that people try out wherever they are. So if you have a peer group or something like that where you're all interested in storytelling, it's definitely a method that can help you grow outside of your comfort zone. I never want to draw anything that's sci-fi, or I've never done anything like a Western. But when you're following somebody else's story, their narrative that they've set up, you're drawing a cowboy now, because that's what you've been introduced to. So it's a lot of fun. It forces you to step outside of your wheelhouse and to draw things that you might not have ever considered putting down on paper. So I highly recommend that. It's a lot of fun, and I've been doing it since oh my gosh, 8 years. We've been doing it for 8 years. And 2015. So, and we've had a whole bunch of people go through, and I can show pages of that sometime on the stream if people are interested. So let me know, and I can show you some cool ones on Monday if you like. But in the meantime, I'll get this finished off tonight, and I might come on tonight later on, just because. I don't know if there's anybody streaming tonight or anything like that, but if there is, let us know, and we'll all try to tune in and check you out. If you didn't get a chance to see Jim's "Hey Man, How's Your Movie Going" episode last night on his stream, I highly recommend it, and checking out each of the different people whose names you see up in the chat here, just because you'd be amazed the insights that we can all glean from one another for the different approaches to creativity that so many of these names take to their work. So give that a shot. You might find somebody who's you hadn't seen their stuff before, and you realize, wow, that might be the thing I'm looking for. So I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff. Before we go, Gary has an answer for the question of the day. And that is, I can't really read my own work for enjoyment or casually. The best I can manage is reading it months later and feeling satisfied or pleased with it or proud of it overall. See, that's healthy. That's really healthy. And I'm glad that you can look at it from that perspective. Miriam says, thank you. Josh says, looking great. Christopher, thanks for the stream. Hey, thanks for coming out. Thanks very much. Fun stuff. Thank you. Catch y'all later. See you later, Kat. Thank you for coming out. We did that as a game. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, Miriam, and I highly recommend people try to do that some regularity, some sort of art engagement or interaction with other people on a somewhat regular basis, whether it's once every couple months or whatever, because it allows you to just stop looking at art from your perspective for a moment and look at the art from their perspective, because you've got to engage with that physically, right? Technically, as opposed to just viewing it, So it's kind of fun. Miriam says, thank you, Chris. I have to go. Okay, bye. Thank you very much for coming out, Miriam. I appreciate it. Thanks, Jim. Oh, last night was great. Again. P.S. Gary reads the stuff every single day. Every single day. Thanks, guys. P.S. Jim reads my stuff every single day. Every single day. We read it together. Yeah, I read over both their shoulders. To each other. Yeah, it's a little awkward. I'm a third wheel in a romance. Anyhow. All right, enough silly. Thanks very much, everybody, for coming out. I will be back at 2 o'clock tomorrow. And Fridays, I leave open. If there's anybody that's interested in popping into the stream, let me know. DM me or something like that. The only criteria I ask is that if you are popping into the stream with me, that you're working too. You're working too. It's either your hands are doing something on paper or we see your face. I've had people say, I want to be on your stream, and all they show is a symbol for themselves that flashes when they're talking. I have no interest in that. So this is we're making pictures, people. So yeah, if you want to be a part of things, let me know. Okay, that's about it for me. Bye for now, and I'll see you tomorrow. So on.